Hey everyone, so maybe you're thinking of moving to Maryland and you're wondering what it's really like to live here. So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of living here in the state of Maryland and hopefully just give you a little bit of information. Hopefully you can learn something new that you currently don't. And this is coming from a guy who did not grow up here. So just for my quick backstory, I'm from Southern California, born and raised there. Went to college in Ohio, met my wife there, and she's actually from here, born and raised in Greater Baltimore. She's a Howard County girl, and we've been here for the last 7.5 years. Living here, we're raising our son here. I've been doing real estate during that time full time, and I'm just going to share with you some pros and cons that I've come to know about the area since this is now home for me, and hopefully just give you some things to think about, some things to learn here about the area if you're thinking of coming here. So for me, there was definitely some things that I noticed that were similar from for me coming from California to here to Maryland. So things like cost of living, I was hoping that I would be able to get more for my money in regards to housing and things like that. But unfortunately, it's pretty expensive here in Maryland. So that was something that was very similar as far as pace of life. So people are hustling out here in Maryland. There's a lot of because of that high cost of living, you do notice that people are staying busy with, work. People are very, focused on their careers, not really to a bad extent or anything like that. So although people are focused on their careers and working and advancing and things of that nature, I did notice that it did seem to slow down a little bit. So people were, a little more focused on family life and things like that, which I really love. There's definitely less road rage out here. So LA was kind of tough. My wife still, I still find myself sometimes not using my blinker because I'm used to people in greater LA just speeding up to cut you off because everyone's so busy and things of that nature. So here you can use your blinker. People will let you over and things like that. So definitely, love Maryland, but there's some things that you want to know about too. See if it's going to be a good fit for you. So let's go over those things right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel. And if this is your first time to the channel, we discuss all things living here in the state of Maryland. So if you're looking to find out exactly what it's like to live, eat, sleep, play here in the great state of Maryland, we talk about it all here. We love answering your questions. If you ever have any questions about moving to the area or even just visiting the area, we love taking your calls, your texts. Feel free to reach out anytime. And also subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of our new weekly videos that we do all about living here in Maryland. All right, so number one, are there a lot of people moving to Maryland? Is it crowded, overcrowded? What does that look like? So when it comes to Maryland in that regard, there are a little over 6 million people here in Maryland, and it's a pretty small state if you're looking on a map. So I would actually honestly expect it to feel more crowded, and I'm a suburban kind of guy. I really kind of prefer that where it's not too urban or city feeling. So that's one of the things I love about Maryland is it does not really have that super overcrowded feel. Now, of course, there's certain parts, if you're in Baltimore City, if you're in certain parts of Montgomery County, Prince George's County, you are going to get more of that crowded, that urban vibe. And of course, that's because you're going to be in the basically extension to DC. If you're in certain parts of Montgomery County and PG County, and then of course, Baltimore City is going to have that city vibe to it. But other than that, outside of that into, central Maryland and then expanding into the rest of Maryland, it really is, doesn't have that overcrowded feel. So that's one of the things that I do love about it. Now, when we're talking about, right now, I'm going to reference a combined statistical area. So that's where you basically take, parts like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, right? And you kind of combine those into essentially like its own economy. Maryland is number 3 behind the one I just mentioned. So you got, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, when you combine that area. Number 2 is LA and Long Beach. So that's, of course, going to be a lot of people, big, economy, big growth and stuff like that. And right behind those two is the DMV. So DC, Maryland, Virginia. It does stretch into parts, small parts of Pennsylvania and then West Virginia, because you do get people from those areas coming into DC for work. But basically the DMV is number 3 when it comes to number of people, economics, and stuff like that. And Maryland did, from the 2010 census to the 2020, had 9% growth. So, consistent growth, nothing crazy, not top in the country or anything like that. But for an established area like this, it's been around for so long, one of the older parts of the country. That kind of growth and that kind of economic numbers is definitely good to see, and something that's very strong. The foundation of our economy, of course, is extremely strong, given that so much of our jobs and job growth is coming from government contracting, and then stemming from there. And of course, that stuff is not going anywhere. So, but definitely would expect it to feel more overcrowded than it actually does. So I would say on this topic, a con is that there are certain parts of Maryland that are definitely a little overcrowded. But on the flip side of that, if that's something you want to get away from, there's tons of options close by. So that's something to keep in mind. And then the pro is just, although you're dealing with that in certain parts of Maryland, the economy, the stability of our economy, having to deal with a little bit of the overcrowdedness is definitely something that I'm worth kind of dealing with in regards to that. All right, number 2 is going to be the weather. So for me, coming from basically greater LA, and then as I kind of got into college, my parents moved a little south, and then a little more inland as well, basically like North San Diego County. And if you get off the coast in Southern California, most of it's very deserty. So for me, coming from greater LA, Maryland, the green and all the just how beautiful it was and how many trees and all that kind of stuff was something that I absolutely loved. Just kind of seeing more nature around you and things like that. So LA is just it's so overbuilt, it's so crowded that you don't really see much nature. So that was something. And then of course now when I go back to visit my parents, it is very deserty and stuff like that. So having that greenery and all that kind of stuff all around you is something that I absolutely loved here about Maryland. And then in regards to the weather, overall, it's pretty mild, which is one of the things that I enjoy. Now, of course, every winter you're dealing with, a little bit of snow, but for the most part, we haven't been getting that much. I mean, the thing about Maryland is that it does not stay cold typically long enough. So you're not like in the Northeast, you'll string together several days, a week, kind of below freezing. And when you get a few inches or a foot of snow, it becomes very difficult because that stuff's just going to hang around given the temperature. So here, an average winter day is getting up into the 40s, high 40s, something like that. So whatever precipitation that we do get in regards to snow, for the most part, that's gone within a day or two. So you do get to see the snow, but it's something that doesn't hang around as long. So everyone's going. You don't get sidelined very often because of snow. One thing that you will see, schools here more often than not, our snow days are more related to ice because the snow doesn't hang around long enough, and the schools are very conservative in regards to that. So I would expect some of that, snow days and stuff like that. But again, it's more related to ice and them just not wanting to deal with any kind of safety hazard or slipping or anything like that in regards to the buses. All right, number 3, wanted to mention the schools here in Maryland. They are overall pretty good. So generalizing schools at a state level is, naturally going to be, pretty difficult just because there's so many counties and so many different things going on there. For the most part, I know Maryland schools at a national level used to be higher, closer to the top 5. Now a couple ratings that I've looked at has Maryland, in the top 10. So you are going to see overall pretty good schools here. But of course, just like anywhere, you're going to want to do, research and look more, into that because some counties are not going to be as good as others. I will say in general, if you are wanting to target areas with some of Maryland's best schools, you're going to want to probably look more into Howard County and Montgomery County. So those are going to be areas in general, and then some parts of Anne Arundel County as well. So depending on kind of where you're going, you can kind of look more into that. But those are going to be the areas overall in general that I notice the most people flocking to, specifically when it comes to schools. So I would definitely look more at those. I live in Howard County, so I can kind of tell you what that looks like as far as living here. People are constantly coming here specifically for the schools. I mean, it's the number one thing when I have a client looking in Howard County, it's the schools, and that's why specifically number one, why they want to be here. And I can't believe it still, catches me off guard, but every year when I look at my property tax bill, I look at kind of the breakdown of where all the funding is going, and I think it's like close to 65% of Howard County's funding is going directly to schools. And our 2021-2022 budget was approved at just a little under $1 billion. And Howard County is not a massive county. You're looking at like, a little over 300,000 people. So like I said, I can give you an example of that just because I live in that county specifically. But there's definitely a ton of focus there, specifically in Howard County. So that's something you can look into. I would recommend greatschools.org. It gives you a lot of great information when it comes to student to teacher ratios, student to counselor ratios, demographics, and all that kind of stuff. So I would look more into that specifically in the area you're looking to, so you can get an idea of kind of what those schools look like and if they're going to meet your standards or not. All right, number 4 is going to be just in general how easy and the convenience it is of getting outdoors, hiking, just getting outside and being active. So that's one of the things that I love about Maryland. There's really not a con to that. So for me, that's just a huge pro. So for me being in Howard County, I've got Patapsco State Park, just kind of right in my backyard. Huge state park. So you've got, a good sized river cutting through that. So a lot of opportunity if you want to get out there, if you want to fish, if you want to hike, if you want to be outdoors. That's a great opportunity. And then just to the south, you've got Patuxent State Park, which kind of runs and cuts through. That's your border from Montgomery County to Howard County. So you've got a lot more opportunity there. And then just tons of parks. In most towns and cities throughout Central Maryland, you're going to find several parks, and ability to close by to get out and be outdoors. So for me, within 20 minutes from my doorstep, I can be in Patapsco State Park. I could be at Patuxent State Park. So there's just a ton of opportunity if you're coming specifically to Central Maryland to get outdoors. I would check out the app All Trails. So this is a really cool app where you can check out. It'll tell you everything close by, so you can find the best areas to hike, to get outdoors, and things like that. And one of the things I thought was crazy when I found this out a couple years ago is just how much of Maryland is wooded, given our population, the growth of our population, and you'll see once you're here, Maryland's fairly developed. There's a lot of people, a lot of housing and stuff like that, but 41% of Maryland is wooded. That equates to roughly 2.6 million acres. So if you want to get outdoors, if you want to hike, if you want to fish, if you want to just be outside, Maryland's going to have tons of opportunity for you to do that. So number 5 is going to be the traffic. So this is something I wanted to mention, give you a little bit of an idea of what to expect there. So in Maryland, we've got a couple different beltways. So 695 is going to be the beltway circling Baltimore City, and it's going to take you basically through most of Baltimore County and just kind of circle you around. And then south, you've got 495, which is DC's beltway. So that's going to circle DC through Maryland and then down through Virginia. Now 495 in my experience, and I think if you ask anyone, is going to be much worse than 695. 695's got its certain pockets where it's pretty, it can be pretty bad, but 695 is much more, kind of specific to rush hour. 495 can be pretty busy, unexpectedly, a lot more often. So that's something I would look into. Of course, DC traffic in general is going to be a lot worse. You got a lot more people down there. Montgomery County and PG County alone each have over 1 million people. So you've got roughly a third of the population in the 2 counties surrounding DC. So I would expect a lot more traffic down there, and that's just kind of going to come with the territory. And then between those 2 beltways, so you got 695 and then 495 down here for DC, you've got 29 running north-south, 95, 295. So 3 highways that are cutting north-south to get you, wherever you need to go through Central Maryland. 29, I will say, in the northern part, it moves very well. It's highway. And then once you get into that southern part, basically like the last third of it, before you hit DC's beltway, there's going to be a lot of lights, and that makes it a lot more complicated and just a lot more time consuming to use versus say 95. So 95 is going to move. It's going to probably be overall the most crowded, but it just moves the best because it's 4 to 5 lanes on each side. And then 295, BW Parkway, Baltimore Washington Parkway, is going to be another option. However, a lot of it's 2 lanes. So even though it may seem less busy or may seem quicker, it just doesn't travel as well because it just takes 1 cop on the side or a fender bender on the side of the highway, and it's all of a sudden you're slowing down. So that's something I'd probably stick to 95. It's going to be overall in general the thing that's going to move the most. So the con here in regards to the traffic is you're definitely going to see some, and DC is going to be up there probably as bad as anywhere. For me, coming from LA, no, once you got into Central Maryland, the traffic is nothing compared to LA. So that's something that I absolutely love about it. But when you do get into southern Montgomery County and parts of Prince George's County, you are going to notice that basically transition into DC traffic, and it can be pretty bad. So that's something that I would be prepared for. Baltimore's not going to be nearly as bad. So, and then the pro when it comes to that is basically just given how close you are, DC to Baltimore, and then you've got Pennsylvania, you got West Virginia, Delaware nearby, and then Virginia. So how many places are so close to Maryland, and the traffic being in a lot of Maryland not too bad? That's something that I was not expecting. It was much better than I was expecting. So that's something that I would say is on the pro side of that. All right, and number 6 is going to be the economy here in Maryland. So this is one of the things that I just absolutely love about Maryland is how strong and how great of an economy it has. You're tied into so many different markets where you got the Baltimore market, you got the DC market, the DMV market, which basically is the DC market. So it's just awesome. So if you're looking for work, if you're looking for stability, Maryland's got it. Maryland's got a ton of jobs, with the foundation of the economy here in Maryland being all the government work, all the government contracting work. So I would argue that this economy, this area here, is going to be as recession-proof as anywhere in the country. I just can't think of, the last to get paid or to get laid off are probably going to be, government workers and stuff like that. I mean, they're always going to have that need and those jobs around, and everything kind of stems from that. And that's also something I love about this state, that I love about this area, is just how much opportunity there is here. So if you're looking for work, there's no shortage of jobs here. And a lot of people I talk to have got really good, stable jobs, great benefits. There's good health care, affordable health care here in Maryland. So a lot of things when it comes to jobs and economy that we got going for us here in the state of Maryland, given our tie to the dual metro area, DC and Baltimore. So that's something that I love, and I would highly encourage you to do more research on if you're looking to move to this area. Maryland also, per capita, has the most millionaires in the country, where 1 in 12 households here in Maryland have a net worth of $1 million or more. So I guess if you're looking to be a millionaire, moving to Maryland's not a bad start. So, and then also, if you're looking for jobs, the median household income here in Maryland is also going to be one of the highest in the country, is at roughly $87,000 per year. So that's something I would look into as well, and expect if you're coming to the area, make sure it's something in line with that, and that you're not being shortchanged if you're coming from out of the area. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Hope you learned something new. If you ever need anything at all, feel free to comment below or reach out anytime, and we'll see you at the next video.